Like I don't understand the argument of he's better because he got fouled more. Or he played better when they were like the ruling makes sense. If you get fouled, you get free throws. You shouldn't have to be bleeding for it to be a flagrant. I think that just like the
So
NFL
you
isn't cool.
you think the NBA is better now than it was even 10, 15 years ago?
Yeah, the NBA the way it's played is better now. Of course, there's that whole nostalgia and thinking back of your childhood, but the NBA is way better today than it was back then.
How?
The NBA is better today because it's more exciting because they created it to be able to score points. So to your argument, like I'm saying, you put those guys back in that time. Think about bringing those guys into this time. Think about bringing that Detroit Bad Boys team to now. Did they win a championship if Rodman and Mahorn can't beat people up in Lambeer?
No.
It's a whole different story. These guys are getting thrown out every game.
And they can't score.
And they can't score. Now you bring in Jordan to this time now. He doesn't have to go down the lane and get beat up. I mean, he's getting a championship way before.
Yeah, I don't know if the triangle will work in today's NBA.
And Jordan couldn't shoot.
That's false. Jordan could shoot. He got better over the years.
He did, but he couldn't shoot at this. He couldn't shoot at this pace.
I don't know. I'd have to argue that. I don't know.
He's still going for 40 whenever he wants, but he would have. I think he would have been a good enough shooter had that been the game, had that been the style of play. Dropping him in for one season, I don't think you're going to see.
So real quick.
Dominance.
Real quick, Jordan, a career 50% shooter from inside the arc, career 33% shooter outside the arc, a career 28 per game scorer. I don't know. I don't know if Jordan. Look, Jordan's the greatest of all time. I think he can play in any era of the NBA. But it would be fun to really dive into this. And
what's Jordan's free throw percentage?
Oh, now we're
It
getting
ain't 90.
Let me find it real quick. 84%.
All right, so you got an 84% free throw shooter that you're going to put into a league where fouls go up. His points
so you're
go
shooting
up.
78%.
His points go up automatically, though. That's what I'm saying. See? Different league. And if I'm going to go into a game, I want those old school people with me.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. Magic Johnson shot 30% from three and 52% from the field. Career 19 per game shooter.
Can you check Larry Bird? Because his team can't score.
No, they would struggle, that team, in today's NBA. They would struggle. The Birdster. Big Bird.
And they can't guard.
3-point, 38%, and he was a 50% shooter from the field. Career 24 per game scorer. That was a nice little conversation regarding our big three. So now, if you had to pick two players, role players, to round out your roster, fill in the positions that you don't have currently. Sean, where are you going at center?
Are we staying on the same?
No, just kind of. If you had now, we're talking role players, not stars.
Okay,
not stars.
All right, role players, not stars. Can we go anytime? Does it have to be?
Yeah,
now?
No. Any player you want.
All right. Well, I want Jason Williams at center.
Wow. Okay.
Let's see. So Jason Williams is my center. I really need a power forward. Power forward. Let's see. I mean, it's hard to go power forward and not take a star. So let's say I go with power forward. You know what? Maybe I'll take Rasheed Wallace.
Nice
That's
pick.
a good one.
That's a very nice pick. He can shoot from the outside, too.
Yeah.
You're putting Bird at the three?
Putting Bird at the 3, yes.
So what? Oh, Magic's your point. All right, Danny, your turn.
All right, so since we're talking about role players, Mike, you're gonna have to tell me if these two qualify. I'm looking for a power forward and a shooting guard. At power forward, I'm going with AKA Draymond Green.
That
He's not a
counts.
superstar yet.
No, go ahead. That's a nice pick.
Great defender. And at shooting guard, I'm going with 0 championships, VC3.
Very nice.
It's Carter.
All right, I need a point guard, and I'm going to harken back to my Utah Jazz fandom days. I'm going to take John Stockton because I need someone to really move the ball around because, like we said, Kobe don't pass. And I need a center. And actually, I really don't need a center. So I think I am going to take Sean Bradley. Just because we brought him up. John Stockton was the man. Now, if I had Karl Malone, it's over. There's no one stopping that. No one ever did stop that. Because they got theirs versus the Bulls. Because I rooted for them. You want to pick coaches? Go ahead. All right, fine. I see where you're going. All right, Sean. What coach is gearing up the squad, ready to go?
Coach. I mean, I go with Pop.
All right, Danny, who's your coach?
The leader of all egos, I'm going with Chuck Daly.
Nice. The triangle won't work, although it would with this team. You know, I'm going to go Stephen Kerr. I like his style. I don't know if my team would fit his offense, but I think he could adapt.
I thought you were going to go with Byron Scott.
I was going to go Avery Johnson.
I mean, I was going to go Red Auerbach, but
No, you never seen him coach. What the hell you know about Red? The only thing you've done is read articles.
It doesn't matter. I seen what his teams did. Read the watch a lot of documentaries.
Yeah, on the Eagles. All right, so kind of jump from that. We'll go in. So here's how this is going to work for We Battled. We've already kind of done our homework on a topic. Danny and I are both going to kind of quasi-present our case. And then when we're both done, Sean is going to kind of jump in and give his decision on the topic. So in today's episode of
We Battled,
today we're going to discuss the for and against of the potential 2011 trade between the Nuggets and Nets that would have sent Melo, Chauncey Billups, and Rip Hamilton to the Nets in exchange for Derek Favors, Devin Harris, and I believe 2 future first-round picks. So Danny is on the side of the positive. The trade would have worked. And I am against the trade. And I'm going to discuss why I feel the trade would have been a failure. So we're each going to get 3 minutes. So we don't spend too much time on this because we still have a game to talk about. So, Danny, you're first.
All right, so when going back and thinking about the saga, we have to remember where we were as a franchise. We were starving for a franchise player. We were starving for a winner. And we were looking to take the New Jersey team of old and turn that into a Brooklyn, new, hipper franchise that was going to, compete with teams and the rest of the teams in the East. So the parameters of the trade, there's a lot of rumors, but apparently at some point Carmelo was open to the trade. The key component of the trade for the Nets was we were going to get signed long term, which I know we're not going to compare that trade to the Darren Williams trade, but Debo didn't resign or didn't sign an extension, which caused us to make a lot of other moves that didn't really help us. So going into that season, I'm not even going to focus on the rest of that off season, but the season that we would have had Carmelo for the full length of an entire season, we'd have had a starting lineup of Chauncey Billups, Richard Hamilton. So those two won championships together in Detroit. We'd had a Carmelo Anthony who was maybe even getting close to his prime because he still had some good years after this 2011 season. Al Harrington, who was a pretty decent big man who could space the floor and actually would have been today's NBA, and we would have had Brook Lopez, who at the time was young, still a big asset to us. Carmelo, if you remember, in 2013, averaged a career high of 28 points a game, and he led his team to 54 wins. Now, if everything you hear is true, to do with Rasheed Wallace, who we just talked about, and Jason Kidd, who were big components of leadership and making him not spread not low, and everything was spread out. So Chauncey Billups, I'm going to compare him to Jason Kidd, and think that Chauncey would have had that same effect, and he did have that effect with him in Denver. So you have a good point guard who's going to make sure to get Melo the ball in the right spots. You're going to have Rip Hamilton who can hit that mid-range jump shot. Would have shoot the three too much, but we would have probably been better off. Going into the post-trade scenario, we also had Chauncey Billups' contract coming off the books. That was $12 million that was expiring. And not only did we have that, but we had Melo, who wasn't going to be and not able to do as much as he could on the court with Amari, who those two never played well together. Their record together was under 500. Would have had assets. We still could have moved, Brook Lopez had we had that, desire to do that if they didn't fit well together. But we would have had an opening at point guard. Chauncey Billups back. Now, Chauncey Billups did end up tearing up his knee, which, I don't want to discuss that because we don't know if that might have happened or not. But these are some of the free agents that would have been available had we made the trade. We would have had Darren Williams, who was a free agent. Now, again, I know that you guys are going to laugh at that, but this is 2012. We'd had George Hill, who was pretty good, and he was on those teams that went far for Indiana that met up against Miami. We'd had Jeremy Lin, who at the time hadn't blown up yet, so that was another possibility to maybe make a move because again with the Darren Williams trade, we didn't need a point guard. Jamal Crawford, who could have played either bench roles or come off or played the 2 or 3. And then Danny Green, Mike, I'm sure you remember that the Nets were interested in signing Danny Green. It ended up not happening, and then he ended up going to the Spurs and became Danny Green, who hits all those in the finals. But the best part of this trade, lack of needing to make a move to entice Darren Williams to stay. So we don't trade for Gerald Wallace. We keep that pick. Ends up becoming Damian Lillard, point guards in the league. So we could have had at some point Dame Dollar, Melo, Chris Humphries, who was on the team, and Brook Lopez. That team winning a championship. It's hard to quantify all the other moves we would have made, but that's a hell of a team. A prime Melo and Brook Lopez, who could have been moved for another, so that's my argument as to why that trade would have left us in a better situation. And we don't make the Boston trade, but maybe we do. I didn't really want to focus on. Franchise wouldn't be 25 years behind a championship contender had we made the Melo trade.
All right, you gotta do me a favor. Just work on your mic while I'm talking because you were definitely cutting in and out there. So, all right, so I love how Danny is pie in the sky with who we could have signed and what would have happened with free agents. The reason why I think this trade wouldn't have worked and could have never worked, Carmelo Anthony up to that point was a number one on the Denver Nuggets. Carmelo Anthony only made it out of the first round of the playoffs once. Only played more than 5 games in the playoffs once. And the Western Conference wasn't super stacked like it is today. Melo cannot be the number one on a team.